If you break your leg in a pothole, call the supervisor.
If any resident out there finds a pothole on a town road and tells us about it, I will ask Fred to personally go out and fill that pothole.
I want to wish everyone a Freilich and Purim and a Yash Koach to everybody. Heiß gepoilet, alles geht.
I give off. Hello, welcome to our new podcast, the Ramapo Ready Conversation. We're going to meet regularly with local officials, Town of Ramapo department heads and employees, and leaders from our community to discuss issues that are important to our residents. I have with me today our Highway Superintendent, Fred Brinn. Fred has been Town of Ramapo Highway Superintendent for over 7 years now, and he's in charge of all the town roads. And I'm going to ask Fred just to tell us a little bit about yourself and what your department does.
Sure, of course. Well, thank you for inviting me to this podcast. So I'm the Superintendent of Highways. I've been in this position since 2018. The Department of Highways is responsible for all the roads in unincorporated Ramapo, plus we also handle several of the villages. That includes taking care of all potholes in the roads, drainage basins, road signage, pretty much everything that has to do with the roads in the town of Ramapo.
Let me ask you a question. One of the big questions that we get here from residents, and they'll call or email, or they'll email us, they'll complain about a situation on a road, and we sometimes find out that it's not a town road, it's a county road, it's a state highway, it's a village road that we don't maintain. What do we do in those cases?
So there is sometimes a misconception of the fact that the town of Ramapo does not handle every road in the town of Ramapo. In addition, we don't handle the village of Spring Valley, we don't handle the village of Suffern. There are also numerous county highway roads which we do not maintain or plow for that matter. We do handle state roads in plowing issues only, but not in the maintenance, and that's pretty much what we do. Now, if anyone needs to report an issue on the roads or anything that has to do with drainage, flooding, things like that, there's pretty much 3 ways that they're able to contact us. They can call the highway department at our dispatcher line at 845-347-0903. They can report it via email at townofhighway@ramapo-newyork.gov, or we also have a Twitter account at Ramapo Highway. And that's pretty much the 3 ways that we're able to get information from residents and correct any issues that need to be corrected.
So right now it's late February, almost March. Hopefully the winter is ending, if not over. Obviously the winter could be hard on the roads. What are some of the problems that you see happen during the winter?
Well, luckily now we have a little bit of a reprieve from the weather that we've had. We've had an interesting and very intense few weeks in terms of the weather with snow, ice, freezing, thawing. That seems to hopefully have passed, and I hope that the winter in terms of the weather and the snow is done with. And as a result of a lot of the weather issues, we're getting a lot of calls now for potholes. And we have right now every day 3 different crews of potholes that go around. Again, not only in the town of Ramapo, but in the villages that we service. Again, we service Pomona, Wesley Hills, Kaiser, Chestnut Ridge, Montebello, and New Hempstead. So we have 3 crews that are going around handling potholes.
So what if a resident calls in and says, oh, I just saw a pothole on Route 59, which is the state road, or I saw a pothole, and they give you another road, which is a county road. What would you do then?
Well, yeah, if it's called in, the dispatcher will let them know that it is a county road, and they will direct them accordingly by giving them the county highway's telephone number, or if it comes in via email, we will forward up the email to the county and make them aware of that an issue has been reported and that they should make a complaint directly to them. And that, again, will also include the village of Spring Valley, the village of Suffern.
Because they have their own highway departments.
Correct. They maintain their own highway departments. They take care of all their roads.
Every now and then, somebody will email a complaint about a pothole directly to my office. And if we know up front, if it's something that I think might be a town road, I always forward it to you and you take care of it right away.
Right.
If I know up front that it's a county road or a state road, an obvious one like Route 45, Route 59, what we try to do is we forward it on. We tell them it's a county or state road. We give them where to call, but we try to forward it on too. So I'll forward it on to the county highway department or to the state DOT. and hoping that they then address it. We can't make them do it, but we know that if it's on a town road, you'll take care of it.
Right, and we obviously will do the same. We'll forward it on to the county or to the DOT. We'll call them or email them and make them aware of the situation.
Would you be able to estimate how many potholes your crews have fixed in the last couple of weeks?
I'm not sure of the exact count, but it's been quite a few. It's definitely been quite a few.
Great. And how long does it take typically from a report coming in about a pothole to it being repaired?
Well, we try to take care of it as quickly as possible. I mean, there is a work order that's created, and the work obviously is given out, and we try to, divvy up the work accordingly over the different villages and nature of the pothole, of course, depending on the size, depending on the type of pothole. We also have our foremen are basically driving around during the day, and they're also looking at potholes and checking out the complaints. But we try to do it within a fairly reasonable amount of time.
Very good. And you mentioned you have the foreman going around kind of proactively looking for potholes, but obviously we're a big town. We have a lot of miles of road, so they can't be everywhere, which is why we encourage residents, if you see a pothole, even if you're not sure it's a town road or not, let us know and you'll fix it if it's yours.
Correct.
While we're talking about the winter, let me ask you, what would be the process if we know that a snowstorm is coming tomorrow night? What do you start doing?
So the first thing we do is we'll brine the roads. We usually have a little bit more. We know the forecast ahead of time. We actually have our own. We subscribe to a service that pinpoints the weather for the town of Ramapo and the zip codes in the town of Ramapo. We usually have 2 to 3 days notice of a snowstorm. That being the case, we will actually brine the roads first. But people have to be aware also that sometimes, for instance, if it's going to rain, let's say a day or two before a snowstorm, we can't brine until it stops raining, because otherwise it'll wash the brine off the road. So there are times where we don't have a large window to enable us to brine all the roads, and again, that includes village roads as well. Just for a point of reference, there are approximately 200 road miles that we handle, unincorporated being about 90 of those road miles, 91, 92, the rest being the villages that we serve. So there are a lot of road miles that we handle, both in terms of, brining and obviously plowing as well.
And when you're actually out there plowing, one issue that comes up sometimes is we have a local law that says if snow is predicted or falling, you can't park on the street. Even if a parking is normally permitted on the street, you have to move the car off the road. Have there been issues where people have not moved the cars and it's prevented you from plowing?
Yeah, so again, the villages themselves have their own code regarding overnight parking. The town of Ramapo also has the same restriction when there's a snowstorm in terms of having cars on the street. We definitely have problems on occasion on different roads where there are cars parked on the road and our plow trucks cannot get up into that street, and people will call obviously and complain like they didn't take care of my street or they weren't able to get to me, and we explain to them that we look into what happened, and then we find out that there were cars parked either on one side or both sides of the street. Our drivers now know that they should be calling the police. What they do is they'll call into the dispatcher, and the dispatcher will report, if cars are parked on the street. Now, obviously, we're not looking to create issues with ticketing and having people tow their cars, but they also, on the other side of the coin, have to understand that we really can't do our job properly and plow certain roads unless they're clear of cars being in the street.
So to the residents out there, and most of our residents, understand that and very promptly move their cars. There are some that don't know or don't get to it. The police do go out, and if they see the car there, they could ticket it, and they may tow it if it's in the way and they can't find out who the owner is in time to move it, because we have to keep the streets clear.
Right, so of late, I think within the last 2 or 3 weeks, there has been messages that have gone out both on WhatsApp and I think in different publications, social media, to let residents know, to remind them again that there is such a law and that it's in everyone's best interest that they take the cars off the road so the cars, of course, don't get damaged and that we're able to plow the roads.
Absolutely. Let's turn to a different topic. We're talking about maintaining and repairing the streets. A lot of times residents ask, when is my street going to be repaved? It hasn't been repaved in many years. It's broken. What is the process? How does that work?
Sure. So again, the villages are responsible for repaving their own roads. So they hire their own engineers, and then they'll bid it out, and they take care of it independently of unincorporated Town of Ramapo. What we do in unincorporated Ramapo is we have road evaluations done every year, and those road evaluations come up with a score of how bad the road is. And then we get that list and we make a decision. Now, also, there are a lot of times where, first of all, we only have a finite amount of money, obviously, as you're aware. And while, the town could be generous enough to give us a decent amount of money to pave roads, what I think most residents don't understand, or they probably don't want to understand, is that with a finite amount of money, we really need to take care of the roads that are most traveled. Those are main primary roads. Let's say, for instance, in unincorporated, we're talking about a Carlton or a West Maple, where there are thousands of cars traveling every day, versus a cul-de-sac where there could be 7, 8, 9, 10 houses with much, much, much less traffic. And I totally sympathize with a resident's desire to have their cul-de-sac fully paved. It looks nice, it's beautiful, but when you're given a finite amount of money, and again, this is not unique to Ramapo, it's everywhere across the United States. There's only so much money to go around. And as I said, we have a lot of roads, a lot of road mileage, a lot of that we have to take care of. So we try to be fair, but we also know that there are roads that have to be repaved because of bus traffic, because of vehicular traffic, because of pedestrian safety. That does take precedence. So we try to do the best we can do. But like I said, sometimes residents are unaware that, I want my cul-de-sac or I want my dead-end street or whatever it may be, and it just sometimes can't happen.
You have to prioritize.
Right, and again, if there are issues on those streets,
right,
and they can't be repaved at this point, we will repair, we will fix whatever's necessary, and obviously make it drivable and make it safe.
We had, I think recently there was a street that, it was a small street, would not normally be a high priority to get repaved right away, but I think there were enough problems on that street that it was really getting to be a safety issue, and you did go and repave it, and the residents were very, very happy.
Correct.
But even when it's not the case on a small street, even if it's not on top of the list, there will be a point in time when that street would be addressed.
Sure.
We're not saying the street will never be repaved.
Of course.
But like you said, there's only a certain amount of money to go around, and we all have to prioritize where it's spent to get the most out of it. One thing we've been able to do in the town in the last couple of years, when I took office in 2018, we unfortunately had a bad financial outlook. We did not have a bond rating. We had a deficit in our general fund, and now we were able to eliminate that deficit, go to a positive balance, and we got a very favorable bond rating from Standard & Poor's a couple of years ago. And what that does is it allows us to go out for a bond to do infrastructure upgrades and repairs.
Right.
And basically the way, for the viewers out there, the way a bond works, it's almost like when you buy a house and you get a mortgage, you're not paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash at once. You're basically paying a down payment, and then you're paying over 30 years. You're paying the balance. So a bond kind of works the same. The town basically gets the money to do the repairs and doesn't need the cash up front. We took out an $18 million bond to do sidewalks and street work, and that means we didn't have to write a check for $18 million. Right. It gets paid out over a number of years, and we got a low interest rate because of our favorable credit rating as a result of the improved finances, and it allows us to finance these things. So that's why within the last couple of years, we've been able to do more sidewalks, street repairs, street improvements that we hadn't been able to do for years. And we intend to keep going after more bonds, and that will help finance some of the major improvements we hope to make. I think one thing that I'm sure you hear all the time, I hear all the time from every resident, biggest complaint about living in the town, and people are very happy for the most part to live in this town, we offer a lot, traffic. There are things that can be done to upgrade the streets, but they're not quick or cheap overnight fixes. Are there anything you'd like to talk about with that regard?
Right. So, well, in furtherance of what you were saying about the bond money, and I've thanked you and the town board numerous times about the fact that you've been able to give the highway department a few $1 million for replacement of old equipment and old plow trucks, which has been a huge help to us. And again, we thank you very much. We have brand new plow. We have a bunch of brand new plow trucks. We're phasing in more plow trucks to eliminate the antiquated ones that have overextended their life expectancy. So that has been a tremendous plus other equipment that you've been able to allow us to purchase. There's also a number of traffic safety measures that are being looked into to help traffic. Those being turning lanes on certain major intersections. That's an ongoing project, but the town has been very, very aggressive in their response to the traffic that's going on and how to alleviate a lot of the traffic by creating turn lanes and things like that, and by adding sidewalks for pedestrian safety. So it's a tremendous benefit to the town, which some people don't really may take for granted. But it's an ongoing project and it takes time. But there's no question that I'm here for several years, as you are. We got elected the same year. 7 years ago. We got elected the same year, and there's been a tremendous amount of work that's been done in this town since then to improve the quality of life of all residents here.
Thank you. It's been a great partnership, and I want to thank you for everything you and your department does every day, whether it's plowing, fixing potholes, or big projects.
Correct.
We know you guys are out there and working for the public.
We try.
Thank you.